They're calling from 18 on up to 36. Some of us leaving our homes in a terrible fix. But you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. Now let's go, boys. Pull up for your town. If you ever get back home, you'll be on that same old paved ground. But you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. Now your boss man may be rich, have all kind of change. When Uncle Sam calls you, well, that don't mean a thing. But you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. Now poor mother do worry, I know how she feels, thinking about her son out on the battlefield. But you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. Now if you go to the camp, boy, hoping to act rough, they'll put you in that old guardhouse, make you pick up cigarette butts. But you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. Welcome to another Baritone Blues. That's Registration Day Blues by Sleepy John Estes. It's a 12-bar blues in the key of E, but it's got this nice solid rhythm part and some quite simple little riffs over the top. Oh, and there's a different version of one of the chords that we can use if we want to, just to get a good solid rhythm part going. Let's break it down. We'll just do the first verse, and we're going to have an E chord, and we'll put the riffs in later, but just focus on trying to get your thumb doing a really solid rhythm, and you can use the spare fingers of your left hand to stop the strings ringing, as well as releasing the pressure on your first two. That works on those two strings, but these open strings are going to ring, which is where these extra fingers come in. So I release the pressure of my first two as I let those two fingers fall down on the strings. That's our E chord. Then we have an A chord, and I'll show you the alternative version of that in a moment. Back to the E chord. Then we have a B7 for one bar, an A for one bar, and back to the E. And there's no turnaround on the end of this. There's a little riff, but it stays on that one chord. So if we sing one verse just with those chords, this is what we get. They're calling from 18 on up to 36. Some of us leaving our homes in a terrible fix. Oh, but you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. And that's basically the whole song. Nice and simple, as many blues songs are. The trick is in how you deliver it, the timing, the little riffs, and also, of course, with this one, the vocal is really important. It's telling the story of being called up to go to war. Now, there are basically two riffs that go throughout this song. One of them is on the E chord, Okay, now I'm doing all of this with my thumb, except for that little bit on the high strings where I bring my index finger in. You might want to try it a different way. You might use a pick, you might want to pluck a little bit more with your fingers. Try and find something that's comfortable for you and that works for you. But that little riff, what happens there is we take the first fret of our B string and the second fret of our G string. Just like we're going to play, actually it's very much like a D7 chord shape, but instead of playing the whole thing and fretting all of those notes, we don't bother with the note on the high E string, just those two in the middle. And we're going to slide them up 2 frets, so I'm now on the 3rd and 4th frets on my middle 2 strings, and slide into it, and you could either pluck with your thumb and finger, or do what I did and just strum them with your thumb. When I strum them with my thumb, I rest my index finger, my right index finger, just against the top string, so that I don't ever get that string ringing out. I'm muting it over this side rather than with this hand. And that's what we're after. So we're sliding up to that one, sliding it up again. Then I take my index finger and move it across one string, so I'm on the 3rd fret of my G string, and I've taken off the other finger, and I slide it straight down to the 2nd, then open, and then I'm back to my E chord. Okay, that's the first bit of the riff. And then right at the end I play my open E string, the 3rd fret on my B string, which I'm doing with my little finger, and the open E string again, and then back to keeping that rhythm. So the whole thing in context sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So remember, when we do it, it doesn't start at the first beat of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And you know what? You can mess around with the timing and exactly how you do it and the slides and things like that, and then make it your own. As long as it's something like that, then it's going to sound great. You know, you can do more slides or fewer slides. You can miss out that one and just go straight to the 2nd fret. You can do all sorts of things to make these little blues patterns your own. That's riff number 1. The next riff happens on the A chord, and actually it's an A7 chord, and that's partly because one of the notes in the riff is that open G string that would make an A chord into an A7. And that riff goes like this. Now I've done 2 things there. I've done the riff and I've moved to an alternative version of that chord. Let's leave that out for the moment and just concentrate on the riff, and I'll go straight back to the same version down there. If you want to play the song like that and miss out this higher inversion, you can. It still works. So we have an A7 there, and I'm just aiming for the lower strings here and keeping that stompy rhythm going. And just like the last riff, it doesn't start on the first beat, so we get one of those strums on beat 1, then we get our open G string, 2nd fret on the D string, open D string, 2nd fret, back to the open G twice, back down to the 2nd fret of the D, open, back to the 2nd fret, and then we can form the rest of that D7 chord there. And I'm not doing a barred D7, it's just this open one, because otherwise it's too difficult to get back and forth between these little riffs. Now I'll play it slowly. I have to play the previous chord to lead into it, because this happens as soon as we get on to the A7 chord. So from the E, but you've gotta go, but you're trying to win this race. That's where it fits. The other inversion of the chord is 5, 6, 5, and then I'm muting that first string with the side of my index finger here, right down near the big knuckle. And those 3 notes there give me an A7. Same chord. And in fact, if I let that first string ring out accidentally, it's not the end of the world. It fits in the chord. But I'm using this inversion to try and keep a nice, controlled, fat rhythm sound. And I can just squeeze and let go to do that, which just gives me a really good solid rhythm. So that bit, I'll lead into it again. But you gotta go. But you're trying to win this race. And then we're back down to our E chord, and then our little riff that we had before again. And then for the rest of the song, B7, A or A7 or A7 up there, doesn't matter. I like to just do a simple A7 down there, and back to E, and then the same riff again. So we only have 2 riffs to fit in. So I'll do the whole of the first verse and the chorus nice and slowly, just so you can see how it fits together. They're calling from 18 on up to 36. Some of us leaving our homes in a terrible fix, but you gotta go. You're trying to win this race. You know, by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. And the only other different thing I did was a little intro, which is really just based on that. I just did the... So just the last little bit of the chorus just to lead me in. And right at the end, when I finally got to that, I didn't do that. Instead, I did this. So on my E chord, I add my ring finger on the 2nd fret of the B string, and then I'm going to go up to the 3rd fret with my little finger. And how you do that, you can go up, back off, back up again. It doesn't really matter. It's just a little cliche blues ending to get us to that 7th chord to finish on. So the last little bit there would be, by the help of the Lord, we'll see our wife and mother's face. You'll find a link below for the tablature, but actually songs like this are quite good for learning just by listening and copying. It helps develop your ear, it helps develop your musical memory, and if you've got the tablature there, you can always have a look at it if you absolutely get stuck. But that link is in the description below. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.